today it would be a continuation of the session we took last time. Last time we did a very basic question on dynamic programming. We gave a brief introduction to dynamic programming, top-down approach and bottom-up approach. Today we will see how what are called states, what are transition functions in DP, which is actually the main thing you need to solve DP because the simple problem that we uh, taught last time, like the Fibonacci problem, those problems will not directly come in any competitive uh, contest or any interviews or anything like that. Okay, so first we will talk about the states and transition functions in DP. So as we have thought earlier, DP is about breaking a large problem into several sub-problems and then solving them individually and then either moving up in case of bottom up approach or calling recursively the smaller sub problems in top down approach. So what are states? State is actually in our DP state is actually each individual uh, sub problem condition that we check at any point of time. For example, if I want to give you an analogy, like if I want to climb up a ladder, then I have to uh, use the steps one by one to go to the top. Each step used in the ladder is like a state. At one moment, we are at some step, and then we either move up a step or we move down a step. And the way we move from one step to another step by using our legs in case of a ladder. The process which we use in case of a DP, it is the transition functions. Transition function is actually the method or the conditions that we should check while moving from one DP state to another. Very basic and simple explanation definitions. For example, now if we were talking about the Fibonacci problem. So the Fibonacci series is like this: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. So each of these number is a sum of the previous two numbers. 2 is the sum of 1 and 1, 3 is the sum of 1 and 2, 5 is the sum of 2 and 3. So what are the states here? States, the DP state is the individual, is the ith individual number. For example, it is first, second, third, fourth. So 2 is the fourth state or the fourth step. What is the transition function here? Transition function or the things that we need to check or keep in mind are the previous two steps. So uh, in case of the Fibonacci problem, in order to solve the problem for a particular state, let's say for example 3 in here, we need the previous two states in our hand and nothing else. We don't care about what happened before the previous two states or what will happen after the previous two states. This is the thing about DP. You don't need to think about the entire problem. You think only about one particular state. So I hope I'm clear about the states and transition functions. So in now the transition functions is different for every problem. Every problem you have to think about the transition function and states. The main thing about the DP problems are that thinking about the states and the transition functions. Um, in case of um, top-down approach, uh, for any particular state, you call the other states, the other subproblems using a recursion function. In case of bottom-up approach, you access those values in some kind of DP table. So I think uh, am I clear about the states and transition functions? If any one of you have not understood what I have said about states or transition functions, can ask again. I will again explain it. Anyone? I don't think so. Okay. So let's solve the very basic problem about states and transition functions. I will give you a link. You open that problem on LeetCode. Don't check the solution. The solution is there. Don't check it. Just read the problem, and I will give you 3-4 minutes. And you tell me what you think about the problem. You don't have to uh, bring out the solution. You just tell me what you think about this problem. So I have shared the link in the chat box. You check this problem, and after 2-3 minutes, I will ask you what you think about the problem. So, has any one of you think that you want to present your idea about this problem? Any one of you?
I have a solution.
Yes, please.
Uh, we can just
All I want to ask: have you seen the solution?
no.
Okay, tell me.
We can we can initialize two sum of odd numbers and sum of odd index and sum of even index
Okay,
and check which one is larger.
Uh,
okay.
okay then.
Then print out the larger one.
This will not
I'll
work.
I'll give
I have
you
sent you a test.
I'll give you an example. Very basic example. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, so tell me your approach. This one. Only 4 numbers.
That's 7 and 1.
The
7
answer
and
should
1.
be 12.
The answer would be 12, you know.
Yes, the answer will be
If I
12.
choose the first house having 7 items or whatever.
Oh, okay, got it.
And then I choose the fourth one having 5 items. The total is 12. Think about DP. You know what you said. It was good, but that was greedy solution. Uh, Anyone else?
If we choose the biggest numbers and then omit the adjacent ones, like in the adjacent ones which will be less, we'll omit them, and thus uh, we might get the maximum value.
Your voice is not very clear. Can you say that again?
Okay, so in the array, we'll try to find the biggest integers, and then then we'll see which of them are adjacent. Then we'll omit the lesser one in the adjacent pairs.
Okay. How many large numbers will you take from that?
That's a question, right? Maybe the 50% of the total houses.
What? Sorry.
If you take 50% of the array, then the adjacent elements will be means the number of adjacent elements will be more than the
Exactly.
number of elements in the array,
Yes.
because every element has 2 adjacent numbers, right?
Yes.
So 50% will not
Okay, so
work.
we can do one thing. We will go alternatively, and then we can check the next number is whether smaller or greater than the previous number.
Like in that example 7115, how we will go?
I can tell you about the 1000, 1 to 1000, right?
Okay.
You can present if you want.
715, okay. So we can start with 7, and then we will go to 1. Okay.
Okay.
The 2 index. Okay.
Okay,
Then we
okay.
will check whether 5 is lesser than 1 or greater than 1. So 5 is definitely greater than 1. Then we will pick 5 and leave the 1 behind. And then that's how we can do that. Give me any sort of any set.
You were telling that we will go alternate and check the next number is
Whether it's
greater
smaller or
than-
bigger than, yeah. And suppose the number will be 711.
Okay. 1 second. Try out 7, 1, 1, 5, and 4. Now
Okay.
tell. Sonak add 4 after 5. Now tell.
Okay, 71154.
5 and 5. 5 after 5 again 5. Now tell. The answer should be
Answer will be
13. 13. Now the answer will be 13.
yeah.
Now tell how we will go. Because once we take 5, we can't take the next 5 now. And you will get only 12.
It's good that you guys are thinking. You don't have to be correct because it's not very easy, DP, but it's good that
Just
you guys are
show
thinking.
them the test case once again if they're still trying.
Yes. Anyone else?
Roshan, you are still with the same algorithm, or you want to change it?
I'll change it. Wait.
It's coming for the algorithm you told it's coming 12, no? It should be 13 now.
Okay, then we can again check the next one, and if the same thing is there, then we can
If I change it to 6, now 5,
Okay.
after 5, I keep it 6. Now
okay,
we there are so many cases.
Okay.
How many if else we will
See,
accommodate?
so if you put
Can we
6
do
over
one
there,
more?
if you put
Yes.
6 over there, then we can compare 5 with 6, and if the next number is greater than the current number, then we will shift backward, to the 1,
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
alternate
you
will
can and if it's for example say 7 1 1 3 4 now 7 1 1 1 second
4.
4 3
Okay, 4,
sorry 5 3 7 1 1 5 3
5, 3.
71153. Sonax 53.
Okay, so we will go to 1 and then we'll compare to the 5. 5 is greater to the, so we'll stick to the 5 and then we will compare it to, okay, what we can do, okay, we can sum both numbers, from forward and backward number. Like
What
3
are you
and 1.
telling? It will not cover all the cases. You are changing your algorithm for every test case I am
Ah,
giving.
yeah. But it will, okay, fine.
So since there are so many cases, what the solution should be considering all the cases, because there is no other greedy or optimized approach or something like that. We should consider all the cases.
Uh,
Okay, so
I wanted to
yeah,
tell one more approach, but it might not be
yes,
optimized.
please.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I was thinking that we can first sort the array, then we can start with the greatest one. And for first house, we should be independent to select any of the house, right? So we can start with the greater one. Then what we need to do is we go to the second greater one and we just check that whether it is a neighbor of the first greater one.
Okay,
That's
so
why,
you are telling that we should start with the greatest one, right?
yeah,
So
right.
consider the case 99, 100, and 98.
Okay.
The answer should be 197. In your algorithm, the answer will come 100.
Yeah, right, right.
99, 100, and 98. Take it. You are first considering 100. So you can't take 99 and 98.
Yeah, the
Right?
both are there. Right, right.
So both gets eliminated. But the answer
Okay.
is 197. You will take 99 and 98.
Yeah, right, right.
So that's what I was saying, that in this problem, you should consider all the cases and you should consider them in such a way that the time complexity is means you don't get a TLE or time limit exceeded.
Oh yes, yes. The that's very important. The time complexity. The let's say the number of houses is about 10 to the power 5. So think about that.
Means you can run in O of n or O of n log n.
Anyone else, or I will move to the solution. Um, no one else. No one. Anyone else? Any other approach or anything you think about that? This is not a classroom where professors are taking class. There's no problem in telling wrong answers. Uh, okay, so let's come to the solution. This is actually very similar to the Fibonacci problem. That's why I revised the Fibonacci one for the state and the transition function. Let's take one example from here. Okay, so for the Fibonacci problem, in a Fibonacci number, for to construct the ith Fibonacci number, you have to know the I minus 1th Fibonacci number and I minus 2th Fibonacci number. For this question, suppose the thief is at the ith house. Let's say the thief is at uh, let's say the thief is at house number 9. So this is a question. What are the constraints that the thief should keep in mind while robbing the house number, say here is the third house, while robbing the third house? Say the thief has started from the first house and he is moving towards the last house. At this moment, he is at the third house. So what are the conditions or what are the constraints that he should keep in mind while robbing the third house? Tell me. This is essentially the question only. So tell me.
You should not rob the adjacent houses of previous houses.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But in DP, you should consider only the things that you should check in that particular state. You don't have to think what happened previously and what will happen afterwards. Have I robbed the second house and will I rob the fourth house? Correct. Shubham De, correct. That is the condition. Have I robbed the second house or not, and will I rob the fourth house or not? Now, since I said that I am moving from the left to right and I have um, already checked or robbed or not robbed the second house, we will not consider the future conditions now for this problem. We will not think about the fourth house or not. We will consider what happened in the second house or not. So if we have robbed the second house, then we cannot rob the third house. So if we have not robbed the second house, if we have robbed some number of houses up till the first house, uh, there is only one house. So then we can rob the third house. So what is here? So the optimal result, let's say, let BP of I be the optimal or the maximum items stolen up to ith house. Okay, so this is what is DP of I. Here DP of I is the state. DP of I is the state of the ith house or up to the ith house. So now the transition function. So these are the two things that you should think about while considering DP: the state and the transition function. The transition function, there are two conditions. If I will I rob the first house, the ith house, or will I not rob the ith house? So if I want to rob the ith house, then I cannot rob the second house. So one condition is that let this be uh, let this be kept in an array of say house. Okay. So if I want to rob the ith house, then what I need is the maximum item stolen up to the I minus 2th house, right? Because we are not stealing in the I minus 1th house. We are considered about what are the maximum things we have stolen till the ith house. So one thing can be stealing the ith house. So profit the items from the ith house plus what we have stolen till the I minus 2th house, because I minus 1th house is not to be stolen. This is when we steal the ith house. If we don't steal the ith house, then we can steal I minus 1th house. We could have stolen the I minus 1th house. So that is DP of I minus 1. So what is the answer for DP of I? It is the maximum of these two. We need the maximum answer. So either we steal the ith house or we do not steal the ith house, and we only check what is the maximum answer. So DP of I equals to maximum of DP of I minus 1, comma, house of I plus DP of I minus 2. That's it. Problem finished. It's complete. This is the entire thing. Just 4 or 5 lines of code to solve this problem. So if you want to check. Okay, first, any question about this? Anyone of you who did not understand? Anyone of you, or you have understood? Anyone? No. Anyone tell something? Yes or no? Anything?
Yes, I understood.
Okay, so there is one the base case. Okay, so what about the base case? I think you should be able to tell. What about the base case? What will be the uh, condition when I'm at the first house? Anyone tell me? These are the states. This is the transition function. So what is the base case for the ith house? Very easy. Tell me.
Well, a dp of 0 is equal to 0 something.
dp of 0 equals to 0. Why?
Because when he never entered any house, so there's no money. It's Robin still. So, 12 something.
Okay, so I said about the first house. So yeah, you are correct. So more properly saying that dp of I or the dp of 0, because the indexes are from 0. So dp of 0 is the maximum item stolen up to the 0th house. So since there is no condition that you should keep in mind before that house, so you can steal that house. So the base condition would be dp of 0 equals to house of, you can steal the first house without any problem. Let me check. Okay, so
Wait,
this,
I am showing my code. Uh, it's
but
almost
no, they
similar
don't need the
to
code.
the.
They don't need the code. I think that would be a bad habit. They can
Okay.
solve it on their own. So we are not telling you the entire things so that you can just copy. So this is the problem, and I hope you can solve this one now. So this is okay. So one thing that the dp is an array. It's a 0 into the number of houses, say n. So dp here is an array, and it is a one-dimensional array. Since we are using a one-dimensional array to solve this problem, we'll call it a one-state dp. Okay, so at any moment we are only checking either the I minus 1th or I minus 2th house. We are not, essentially, there are not two variables actually. So only one variable is concerned at this moment. The number of houses, the ith house, I minus 1th or whatever, it's a one state dp. The next problem, we have Anish will teach you about the two-state dp and the palindrome problem. I hope all of you know about the palindrome. Is there anyone who does not know what a palindrome string is? Then we will teach you that. Anyone here? I hope everyone knows. So palindrome is just definition. Palindrome is string is the same string when written on the front and the backwards. So I think Anish will take over and he will do the two-state DP. Anish, over to you.
Just a minute. So is my Google Doc visible? Hello?
Yes, it's visible.
Just a minute. So as Sonak was telling that the house robber problem was a one-state DP. Why in every problem we can't use a one-state DP is that in some problems or in some tasks, we can define a state using only one parameter. For example, the question we are discussing here, find the maximum palindromic substring of a string. I hope everyone knows what a substring is. Is there anyone who doesn't know what a substring is? So I guess everyone knows what a substring is. Still, I am saying it once. A substring is a string which can be obtained by taking some continuous number of elements from a string. For example, if the string is ABCD, then the substring can be AB or BCD or only C, like this. So you have to find the maximum palindromic substring of this string. Now, any idea how can we find? Any approach? Doesn't matter which complexity you are thinking in, or is it right or wrong. You can tell the approach in any kind of complexity. No one? No one wants to try?
The basic, okay.
I think we can do it in O of n square, like all
How
checking
we
all
will
the
do?
string.
How we will do?
Yeah, I mean, we can check all the strings, all the substrings that are generating by two parameters like I and j, and running j from 0 to I something.
Yes, and for checking a substring, you will require a separate loop. So it is n cube, not n square.
Oh, okay.
So what was his name? Susabon was telling that we can take every substring and check whether it is palindromic or not. So it is a right approach, correct approach. The only problem is that the time complexity will be O of n cube. Means what he is telling that we will take every substring here from, we will take every substring of S. For example, we will take first A, then AB, then ABC, then ABCD. Then we will start from B, BC, BCD. Like this we will go on, and we will check which substring is palindromic, and we will take the longest of them. Is this what you were telling?
Yes, yes.
So this is a n-cube approach or a brute force approach. Now how we can optimize on this?
Another, I think, approach can be like we traverse the array and like take any character. Let's say we take A, and
Okay.
then we find all the other A's in the array and check all the substrings. Then we take B and find all other B's in the array, then check palindrome, and like that we can do.
What we will do in this case?
Like in this case, there is no other A.
Okay.
So we skip that A, then we
Okay.
go to B, and so then we find the second B in the array and check if that substring is a palindrome or not.
Exactly. yeah,
So
that's
this can also go to n-cube, right? If means say there are many number of B's, we are checking for every substring. You are telling this like this now. First this two we will check, then this three, then this four. We are going to the next occurrence of B.
Okay, we can do one thing, like we will run two loops, one from forward and one from backward.
Okay.
And then we can compare the respective, like suppose we, like in this case, we will go from the last B and starting A, and then we will transverse one from -1 index, and then when we
Start
will,
from you are starting two loops. So the first loop goes from A and the second loop goes from the last B, right?
yeah,
And then after that,
then we will compare the index wise.
Yes,
suppose
they are
like,
not equal, then
yeah, if they are not equal, then we will move ahead, and then if they are equal, then we will again go from the
which direction you will move ahead? The first loop you will move or the second loop you will move?
both simultaneously.
Both simultaneously. Then this becomes B and this becomes C. You have missed the substring.
Okay. And yeah. Okay, yeah. Then we can do one thing. We will stop one at, but yeah, time complexity will go higher.
No, if you stop means which array means which pointer you will move if they are not equal.
Okay, if they are not equal, then we can move any one of them. Like no,
Anyone randomly.
no, that's not a good approach, I guess.
We can optimize on your approach only. What I am going to say. So us to define a substring, how many parameters we need? Any
Start and end.
starting and
And
so for defining a substring, we need two parameters, right? So this will be a two-state DP because we will store the answer for every substring. So we can define dpij. I means the starting index of the substring, j means the ending index of the substring, and it denotes that whether substring from I to j is palindrome or not. Now anyone can tell the approach after this. Means if you know that I to j, the substring from I to j is palindrome, then how you can build on it? You know this, then how can you build on it?
Okay, we can do one thing. Like in my approach, when we will start from front and back, then we will hold it to B. Okay, and then after going A to like we will go to B. You know.
Okay,
This,
means
yeah.
you are
We
increasing
will
this.
go back. Yeah, increasing the forward.
Okay, now take this example. Now
Okay.
you just reverse this.
Mhm.
Now tell. Now how we will. Now this is B. This is A. Now we have to increase the second pointer. Now
Okay.
first pointer. If you increase the first pointer, it will
Then
need.
it will go to C and all. So that's why I was saying time complexity will go higher, and then once it will transverse. Okay,
So it's n cube basically.
Okay. So basically, if wait a minute, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it will go to the first index. Okay, so if it will go to the first index and it's not A, then A can't be palindrome. Okay, I mean these. No, these
Okay.
substring can't be palindrome. It's if the first index is not A. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so then I will move the backward loop, and I will take it to B. And then
Why
I will,
are you moving the backward loop?
because
Are you sure that moving the backward loop always will work? Means if it's like this. Now say. Now if you move the backward loop, you will miss this substring.
okay, then what I can do is I can move the front loop to the to the last. I mean n
Two?
to the pointer where like the second the backward loop is.
Means here.
Yeah, here.
Means both are at A.
So I will do that. till
So
that
why
point.
the need of two loops? You can do it in one loop only.
Because it will be favorable for some cases.
It will not, means you have to change your algorithm for every test case, basically. So this will not work. So what I was
Yeah.
telling is that yes.
Yeah, we take a one loop for traversing the string, and
Okay.
we compare the adjacent elements in
Means
means
adjacent means consecutive.
yeah no
Okay.
means left or right of the selected
Means you
element
have
of the string.
first take it traversing the array. Means first you are at position B.
Yes.
Then
Then there is no element in the left side, so it's go. It's increases. It's go on C.
Okay, then you
Then
go to A.
it no. Then at C it compare the A and B. Then it's not equal, so it's again go.
Yes, sir. So what are you telling? It will also go to n cube because there can be more than one palindromic subsequence. Let's say
But bhaiya,
you have this. So first you are taking. What are you telling that? Means once we get A, we will check that substring, right?
yes, bhaiya.
So first you are checking A, B, B, A. Then again you will check this. So if there are many such palindromic substrings, the complexity will go to n cube only.
Okay.
Means there can be many such strings, no? Many such palindromic substrings. So you have to check every palindromic substring. Are you getting what I am
Yeah,
telling?
yeah.
So it is going to n cube, right?
Okay.
So we can reduce this into n squared very simple using a very simple method. So what I was telling that if you are given that the substring from I to j is palindrome, then if si minus 1 equal sj plus 1, then what can you observe here? You are given these two things. Then what can you observe?
The
length
next
of
DP will be also be a palindrome. Longer one. I mean, if you add something in the right and also something in the left.
Means which substring will be palindrome?
I minus 1 to j plus 1. That's it.
Yes. So we can tell that this is also palindrome. Has everyone got it? This is one of the major transitions in this DP. If I to j is palindrome and I minus 1 equals to j plus 1, then this substring will also be palindrome. Let's consider a case. For example, if DBD is palindrome, if I add same element at the last and at the front, then the entire string will also be palindrome. So similarly, if this is palindrome, if I add an element at the front and the same element at the end, then the whole string will be palindrome. So one of the transitions of the DP will be dpi minus 1 j plus 1 will be equals to dp ij plus 2 because two more elements are added if these two conditions are satisfied, right? And the second transition will be dp ij will be equals to maximum of dp I plus 1 j and dpi j minus 1. Now, has anyone got this transition? Or anyone can explain why this transition is taking place? First of all, has everyone understood this? Why this transition is taking place? If this two
yes.
is true, this will take place. Has everyone understood why?
Yep, got it.
So why this will occur? Means anyone can tell why this transition is taking place. You take an example, you will understand. Means from I plus 1 to jth index, the length of the maximum palindromic subsequence let be is x. And from I to j minus 1 is y. So I am telling that the length of the maximum palindromic substring from I to j will be maximum of x and y. Now, why is it true? Anyone? So, what does the substring I to j contains? Now, the substring I to j has has I plus 1 to j inside it, means this substring has this substring inside it, right or wrong?
Right.
So if this substring has a palindromic substring of length x, this will also have a palindromic substring of length x, because this substring is contained inside this.
You didn't get it. Substring length will decrease if we use I plus 1.
No, what I am saying that let the substring be a b b a, and let's say I is 0 and j is say 3. So the substring 0, 3 is a b, take it 2. So the substring is a b b, I equals to 0 and j equals to 2. So the substring is a b b, and I plus 1 is 1, j equals to 2. So the substring is bb. So bb is contained inside a bb.
Yes, but the length is short.
I am not telling about the length. I am telling that this substring is inside this substring.
Yes.
So if this substring has a length x, has a palindromic substring of length x, then it will also contain a palindromic substring of length x, because इसके अंदर ये है, समझ आ रहा है? Because
Okay,
the
okay, got it.
substring I to j has this substring inside it.
Yes, understood.
Similarly, substring I to j also has substring this inside it.
Yes.
Yes.
So if this has a palindromic substring of length y, this will also have a palindromic substring of length y
Yes.
inside it. So we will take the maximum of it, because we are trying to maximize the answer.
Yes.
Feel आ रहे है इसका?
Yeah, okay.
So this is another transition. So the states are these are the states, means the starting index and the ending index, and these two are the transition. This transition will occur no matter what, because there is no condition here. This substring will always contain these two substrings inside it. So this transition will always occur, and when this will occur, when these two are satisfied, this transition will occur. Okay, so
Could
did you get it?
Yes, but could you code this entire thing, whole program?
So that's a bad practice. You should do this on your own. Means I can do it. It's a 5-minute task for me. But I shouldn't do. Means if I give you the code, you will not think yourself.
Then tomorrow, can you give the code? We'll try today ourselves and tomorrow in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Telegram
sure.
group. Okay.
Sure.
You can actually take it on for this also. The code is
This
there.
is also a very popular problem you can get in
Undo.
GFP also. first you try it on your own. We have told you what will be the states, what will be the transitions. Now you should be able to frame the solution on your own. Because if you can't frame the solution on your own, if you know the states and the transitions, then it's not a good sign.
So basically, we have to compute both of the two algorithm you have right, and then take the maximum, right?
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
you have
Yes.
okay.
First take the means whichever transition gives the maximum answer, you should store the maximum answer in that. If this gives the maximum answer, you should store in DP. If this gives the maximum answer, you should store that. If this gives the maximum answer, you should store that. The one which gives the maximum answer, we always store that, because the one which doesn't give the maximum answer, we don't need them.
No, I'm saying the two different transitions that
Yes, we will obviously take the maximum, whichever gives the maximum. If anyone has still
Okay.
didn't understand this, you can take this. What is the maximum palindromics substring length here? It is 2. So here also we have this string inside ABB, so this will also be 2. Now if we take I to j minus 1, that means I equals to 0 and j minus 1 equals to 1. So the string is AB. What is the maximum palindrome substring length? Here it is 1. So it will be maximum of 1, 2, which is 2. Because see, B is also here and AB is also here. So the palindromic substring contained in BB will also be present in ABB, and the palindromic substring contained in AB will also be contained in ABB. So we are taking the maximum of the maximum of the two.
I would like to add one thing here, that there is another thing, a separate thing you can do instead of just keeping the in the DB states, instead of keeping the maximum length of the substrings. One thing you can do is just keep true or false, keep whether that
No, they
substring
have
is
to
a
find.
palindrome or not.
Okay, yes.
Yes, yeah, but and then if it's a prime, then we can keep it in another just variable, max it. That's a way, you can think about it. I will not go into details. I'm just giving you the hints. You can think
And
about it.
what about the base cases?
It's
The
essentially
base
the
cases,
same thing, but that's
the base case will be dpii equals to 1, like this. A single, if the length of the string is 1, then it is a palindrome itself. So it will be 1. This is the base case. So anyone has any confusion on this maximum palindromic substring? So I guess no one has any problem. So I am we are stopping the session here. Any general question on DP? Any question?
anything about today's session or anything in DP you can ask.
I have one question. How long did it take both of you to master DP?
We have not
We are
yet
not
mastered
masters.
DP. No one have ever mastered DP.
There,
Okay,
in
then
CP you cannot
then got comfortable with it? How long did it take?
Comfortable means we mainly started DP in February or January when our seniors taught us the same problems or the same thing. First of all, you will not uh, get a complete feel of it. We also didn't get it. You can start solving on lead code because those are very standard problems, and most of the DP problems are a variant of those problems only. So, and always try to means draw the DP table when you are doing a DP problem. Means try to find the answer for all these states. Take a small example and try to find the answer for all the states of that example. Then you can get a feel of it.
Okay, got
So anyone, any other question, or we can end?
Bhaiya, can you suggest any videos or YouTube channels for DP? For
YouTube, we didn't watch any YouTube channel. We basically means solved some of the means very basic and standard problems on GFG. Then we moved on to lead code and start solving from the easier ones. The easy problems which have the maximum acceptance rate, start solving from that, and always see the discussion tab. Everyone knows what is a discussion tab on lead code.
yes, yeah.
Always see that tab. There are many people means give a visual approach, means they draw the diagram and all that, and they give the approach. Slowly you will get a hold of it, don't worry. If you do it regularly for 2-3 months, you will definitely get a hold of it.
Yes, the thing about competitive programming is that you can never say that yes you have mastered that or mastered this. You know, even if you give some tough DP to us now, we can. It's a possibility that we will not be able to solve it. So it's just about practice. You know, if you practice enough, then the way of thinking develops in you. How to approach the DP problems? What will be the states? You know, I said the main thing is the state and the transition function.
And first, when we were doing it, always try to means think in a top bottom approach. Means you just think that if I can calculate this means state I, then how can I calculate state I plus 1 from state I? Think in this way. Means think that someone has told you the answer for state I or state ij, then how can I calculate the answer for the next state? Means how I will make the transition from the previous state to the next state, like this thing. Means I think in that way. Means if I think that if my friend is giving me the answer for the state I, then I have then how can I find the answer for state I plus 1 from state I? Like this, I think.